This video will review the bleeding procedure for SRAM brakes while using the Park Tool BKD1 bleed kit. For other brakes, see our brake bleeding playlist found here.
Hi, I'm Truman with Park Tool. Brake bleeding is considered an advanced service procedure and requires a thorough technical knowledge of the braking system. If in doubt, or if this procedure is not working, contact the brake manufacturer for model-specific information. It is important to always use the appropriate brake fluid for the brake being serviced. Never use mineral oil in brakes designed for DOT brake fluid, or vice versa. Also, you should never share bleed kits between DOT fluid and mineral oil. Mixing the fluids can cause damage to components and lead to brake failure, which it can be dangerous. DOT fluid is corrosive. It can irritate the skin and eyes and cause damage to paint and other finishes, so it is important to take care. You should wear gloves as well as eye protection during this procedure. Have plenty of rags on hand to wipe up any spills as quick as possible. Isopropyl alcohol is a good cleaner to help clean and neutralize the DOT fluid if spilled. You may also want to cover your work area to avoid getting fluid on the floor. Dispose of any spent fluid in accordance with your local waste disposal authorities. Now let's get started.
Tools and supplies for this procedure include the Park Tool BKD1 bleed kit, a pad spreader such as the Park Tool PP1.2, a T10 Torx compatible wrench, appropriate hex wrenches, a needle nose pliers, a toe strap or something similar, a torque wrench, isopropyl alcohol, and some rags. This bleeding procedure will work on SRAM drop bar and flat bar brakes that do not feature bleeding edge. This procedure is easier if the bike is installed in a repair stand. Depending on if the brake that is being bled is the front or rear, you may benefit from angling the bike in the stand. Begin by prepping the lever. If your flat bar lever is equipped with a contact adjuster, turn it opposite the arrow until it stops. Now, measure the amount of reach you have from the center line of the bar to the tip of the brake lever. To bleed, it needs to be between 75mm and 80mm. If not, make note of your current adjustment and then adjust to between 75mm and 80mm. On some models, this is a tool-free adjustment, while other models require a hex wrench. It can be helpful to tie a rag around the lever to catch any spills. Attach the syringe holder to the handlebar. Remove the wheel. Use a pad spreader, such as the Park Tool PP1.2, to push the pads back to allow for bleed blocks once the pads are removed. Depending on the position of the caliper, it can help to remove the caliper and let it hang. This minimizes the amount of lateral or downward travel of the hose, making the path for air bubbles as easy as possible to follow. The pads are removed to prevent any contamination. Remove the pad pin clip with a needle nose pliers, and unthread the pad pin with a 2.5mm hex wrench. For pads with a split cotter pin, use a needle nose to straighten the pin and then pull it out. Use your fingers to pull the pads out. It can help to push from the bottom initially. Install the bleed block and secure with either a pin, rubber band, or a zip tie. If the caliper has two sets of pistons, use both bleed blocks. Now that we have our bike prepped, we can move on to prepping the bleed kit. Install the double-ended hoses onto the syringes with the O-ring capture away from the syringe. Install the red adapter ends, part number 2618, onto the syringe hoses. Fill one syringe 1/4 full. This will be for the lever. Holding the hose end up, push the syringe up to eliminate as much air as possible. Clip the hose. Fill the second syringe, which is meant for the caliper, 3/4 full. Repeat the process of eliminating air from the hose and clipping the hose. Now you can remove the bleed screw from the lever using a Torx-compatible T10 wrench. There is an O-ring on this screw. Make sure it also comes out. Then install the 1/4 full syringe into the lever, ensuring the O-ring is seated fully and evenly in the capture of the bleed port as you thread in the adapter. Clean up any spilled fluid right away. Install the syringe in the holder. Remove the bleed screw and install the 3/4 full caliper syringe into the bleed port. Clean up any spilled fluid right away. You are now ready to start the bleeding process. Unclip both syringes. Begin by holding the caliper syringe tip down and push fresh fluid into the system. As you push fluid into the system, it will push excess fluid into the lever syringe. It can be helpful to hold the lever syringe upright to allow freer flow of fluid and bubbles. If the fluid coming out is dirty or discolored, it is wise to push all the fluid to the lever syringe, remove both syringes, dispose of the fluid, refill, and start over. This will ensure that your brake system has clean, fresh fluid. Once the lever syringe is 3/4 full and the caliper syringe is about 1/4 full, then you can close the clip on the lever syringe. You will now need to pull the brake lever and hold it down with a toe strap, rubber band, other suitable option, or hand. Push, then pull on the caliper syringe to create a vacuum. Once the vacuum is created, you may see a few bubbles working their way out of the caliper. Now push on the syringe to create pressure, then pull on the syringe to create a vacuum again. Go back and forth like this until there are no more bubbles coming from the caliper. Undo the toe strap or other holder while holding the lever. Then slowly release the lever while pushing on the caliper syringe. Clip the caliper syringe hose and remove the caliper syringe. Quickly reinstall the bleed port screw and clean up any spilled fluid. Now, back up to the lever. Unclip the syringe clip to allow fluid movement. Pull on the syringe to create a vacuum, drawing air out of the system. Then pressurize by pushing on the syringe. Let the syringe equalize and then pull and release the lever 10 times. Repeat these steps until there are no more bubbles. Then push on the syringe, release the syringe to equalize, and then you're ready to clip the hose, remove the syringe, and replace the bleed port screw. Clean up any spilled fluid with alcohol. Remove the bleed blocks and clean out the caliper body. Reinstall the pads, pad pin, and clip. If you remove the caliper, reinstall it. Reinstall the wheel. Reset the lever reach back to the desired setting and pull the brake lever 3 times. This will self-adjust the system to the pad life that is left. If you encounter rubbing, you may need to realign your calipers at this time. See this other video. You're now ready to ride. After bleeding, clear the syringes and hoses of all fluid. To prolong the life of your bleed kit, it is recommended to clean the whole system with alcohol. Start by running alcohol through the hoses. Then disassemble a kit and wipe down each piece, especially the parts that came in contact with the DOT fluid. Leave the kit out to dry.
Thanks for watching. You can find hundreds more videos like this one on our channel here on YouTube. And we're constantly working on more. So be sure to subscribe for the latest content from Park Tool. And check out our website, which has even more content to help you make your bike better.